Well, I'm back and I'm going to start over because I think so. Just for anyone who's rejoining me, we're going to start over. Don't worry about it. I hope we figured out the problem. Uh, so let's just jump right in. I'm going to start right away. Hello, Pat. Thanks for letting me know that at least I'm live. So, um, okay, we're going to go. We're going to go. We're going to go. Let me just do that. Okay. So most people who try a new diet can't maintain their diet past a few days. So the cravings, the habits, they get the best of them. And honestly, I can tell you from personal experience that going in and out of dieting was something that really plagued my life. And we only end up sticking to our diet if we're scared that something is like we have some kind of health problem, or if we're desperate, or some combination of the two of those two things. So, of the people who stick to their diet, most people will lose weight. And then about 80% of those people will put the weight back on, plus some extra weight. And I can tell you that I totally did that. So it doesn't surprise me that no one believes that a keto or carnivore diet is not sustainable. After 7 years of trying to lose weight, I finally figured it out. Right? I tried and failed a bunch of times. And it took me 5 months of doing keto to lose 80 pounds. And I maintained that 80-pound weight loss for 5 years and 10 months doing keto. So I wasn't working out at the gym and doing all kinds of I just ate properly, lived my life. So the question is that after almost 6 years of eating healthy and maintaining my weight, what happened? Did I end up thinking, woo, it's time to get back to eating the junk? No. Right. But a lot of people would be thinking that. They'd be thinking metabolic flexibility is back, and now we can afford to eat fun food again. Right. Because a lot of people think that eating keto isn't fun. Now, I don't have that mindset. I actually liked my food that I was eating on keto, but regardless, we're not eating chips and cookies and ice cream and all the garbage. Now, what a lot of people don't know, and what I want to share with you today, is that there are some parts of our body that take up to 20 years to rebuild. There are other parts of our body that take just a few weeks. So we're looking at that, right? Like, sure, after a few weeks, I have some new cells and some new linings and some new bits and pieces. But the major players that is there a part of my body that's not a major player, by the way? I don't think that's a reality. I think in the entirety of my body is a major player, but there are some organs, there are some cells, there are some parts of me that are going to take 20 years ish to rebuild. And because our body is always rebuilding itself, always replenishing itself, always working to try to keep us at the best possible, healthiest possible position, then why would we want to interfere with that? So even if I felt like after 6 years, my body was fully rebuilt, which is not, but even if I truly believed that my body did everything it needed to do, I'm in the healthiest position I could ever possibly be in. Well, then wouldn't that mean that eating garbage could absolutely destroy it again? Right? Because if I rebuilt myself that quickly, once I start eating garbage, that means I'm now building myself with garbage again, and I can destroy myself again that quickly. And what's even more frustrating, Wellness Warrior, is that when you look at what happens when we lose weight and then regain it, right? We tend to regain more. So at the very beginning of this, you could see that initially I lost, how much was it? It was like 49 pounds I lost initially. And then regained 11 and then lost, it was a yo-yo. I lost a little bit, regained more, lost a little bit. So I was always regaining more than I lost until eventually, as you could see, in 2018, I'm actually heavier than when I started my diet in the first place. Does anybody see how nuts that is? Does anybody see where in reality, from just looking at that, for my health, I would have been better off just never trying to lose weight than I would if I could just stayed at my weight that I was at, right? But maybe I would have gone up anyways, but would I have gone up as much as I did? These are question marks that I don't know the answer to. But what I do know is going up and down in weight is not helpful to my body at all. So I committed myself to my base idea that keto was at minimum what I would do forever. Keto, because it's healthy and it helped me to achieve in 5 months what I was not able to achieve in the previous 7 years. So you can just imagine that for me, that was game changing. Now, that then brings us to the question of, well, then why did I decide to go carnivore? Because keto gave me everything that I absolutely needed. Why do more? Well, then, yeah, and I'm going to answer that particular question in a minute, but I want to just look at some of the other questions I get often, like why would I restrict myself to eating keto, or sorry, eating carnivore when keto worked? And that word restrict drives me up the wall, Wellness Warrior, because people use the word restrict when they're talking about eating a keto or carnivore lifestyle, where for me, I feel more restricted when I eat standard way of eating, when I have too much carbohydrate in my diet. Even if the amount of carbohydrate that comes into my diet isn't astronomical, it could just be a little bit more. Or it doesn't even have to be carbohydrate. There's things we only think about carbs, but there's stuff in the veg that we're eating that just isn't healthy, Honest Warrior. So for example, I would say that I was at my goal, I believe, when this happened to me, but I went out to dinner with Pat. He wasn't keto yet. And I had a little piece of potato. And that little piece of potato wrecked me that night. Like I was in pain. My joints were hurting. So one thing that I figured out is that when I eat off plan, my body doesn't function. And when my body's not functioning, I feel restricted because then I can't do the things that I love to do. Because I love riding stuff. First of all, I have long boards with an S. I have lots of different ones because I kind of feel like I'm collecting them now, but not really. I just have like 5 or 6. I have scooters, a few. I think I have 2. I have a bike, and I have my bicycle. I have a bike, and then I have things for the winter. So I have skis and I have snowboard. I like riding things. I like being outside. I like doing stuff. And when my body isn't working, I don't get to do those things. That makes me feel restricted. It's like being in jail in your own body because you're not living your life then. The other question I get is, how will I be able to survive without fiber? Cholesterol. Am I afraid of cholesterol? Am I afraid my hair might fall out? There's a lot of questions that I get, and I feel like they're based on what society tells us, or maybe even some of these things people might have lived, but then they don't necessarily know why these things are happening. So I want to talk for a bit about the nutritional imbalance concerns that are that we have, that are put in front of us, that we fiber is one of the first things. Is like, even when I was doing keto, okay, here's a joke for you. When I was doing keto, I came from standard diet, where in my standard diet, the extent of my vegetables were French fries. Sometimes I eat a real potato, carrots. Yeah, that was the extent of my vegetables. And carrots were not often. And then I started to do keto, where I was eating a bunch of different vegetables. I tried new recipes. I just brought in leafy greens, which I had never even thought about eating. The only leaf I ever ate was lettuce. And again, not often. I had so much more veg in my diet doing keto than I ever had. I never was a fruit eater. And on keto, I didn't eat fruit because it's high in sugar, anyways. And yet people would be consistently telling me, oh my gosh, but you need more fiber. I was getting more fiber than I'd ever gotten before. What more fiber do I need? It was hilarious to me, Wellness Warrior, that that's the comment that I was getting. And it goes to show you something. People are making their comments and they're saying things not based on what you're actually doing. They're talking based on what they've heard on the internet. And we all know that on the internet, the data, the information that you can find there sometimes is being placed there to discourage you from doing the healthy thing. So, the first point I want to make is that fiber is not an essential nutrient. There's no minimum amount that you need to have. And so, therefore, there's no reason for you to be chasing it. Vitamin C. Do we need a bunch of vitamin C? Dr. Mason, I believe it was, pointed out that if you're eating really healthy, I think Dr. Bickman also talks about this. If you're eating really healthy, you don't actually need the large quantities of vitamin C that we're told that we need, number one. But number two, your body can get all the vitamin C that it will ever need from the liver, fish, and eggs that you can eat. And if you eat liver raw, apparently there's even more vitamin C in it, or more vitamin C stays stable enough, like stay stable. Some of those B vitamins we are also told we cannot get from animal products. But yet I went and I looked up every single B vitamin. And I said, where do you get it? And I also asked two questions. Where can you get it? Of course, they list all the plants. And then I said, can you get it from animal sources? And then I got another list. And guess what? Every single B vitamin pointed me towards you can get it from either, so any combination of meat, fish, poultry, eggs, and organ meats. But they all listed one of these at minimum, multiple most of the time. So do we need plants to get B vitamin? Apparently not. Potassium can be gotten from meat, from poultry, from salmon. Salmon gave the highest numbers per 3 ounces. It was 326 milligrams. Poultry came in second at 322. And then meat came in at 315. So if we're looking at that, considering that I usually eat about a pound to a pound and a half, in the end, I'm getting about 40 to 50% of the amount of potassium I should be getting per day from the foods I'm eating. I'm going to explain to you in a minute why I'm not worried about that. Magnesium we can get from meat, fish, and cheese. Most people are eating those things. Why am I not worried about only getting 40%-ish of my potassium? Well, they're only talking, first of all, you can get potassium and magnesium from salts, depending on what kind of salt you're using. That's number one. So I salt everything heavily, but it's not going to give me that much more of these things. So I am aware of that. But the reason that I'm not worried about it is that Dr. Georgia Ede had pointed out that if you're eating meat, fish, poultry, and eggs, they come with the right amount of all the amino acids, lipids, um, micronutrients, and vitamins that our body needs. So if we combine what Georgia is saying with, I think it was Dr. Barry, or it might have been I don't remember. One of the doctors was talking about eating nose to tail. If we're worried about these things, eat nose to tail. You're gonna get everything you need. And I do believe, and I'm not at all worried that I can get what I need. And you see doctors like Dr. Barry, who so far has been carnivore for 4 years, and he was keto before that, right? I don't think that a doctor is going to switch over to doing carnivore and get all the benefits that he's gotten and not have research and research to make sure, and which he's talked about his research. Gosh, every video he puts up, there's links to in the description to research and more research that he's done to make sure he's not making some kind of mistake, because not only is he carnivore, but he and his wife are allowing his children to be extremely heavy meat. And if they want some veg, they're allowed, but they're extremely heavy meat. This doctor is betting on the fact that he has figured it out and that he and his wife are putting their kids in the best possible position. We do a lot of silly things for ourselves, right? But we always make sure we do the best for our kids, right? We don't let our kids drink and smoke and do all these stupid things that we let adults do. So I believe that the fact that Dr. Barry is 4 years in and is making videos debunking the idea that carnivore is a deficient diet and that we're missing any kind of nutrients is evidence at least enough for me, going on with adding that to what Georgia has taught me about food. So the amount of carbohydrate that we have to endure to get those vitamins and minerals from fruits that ended up leaving me inflamed, right, over the years, and overweight over the years, not worth it. Because of course I was eating those fortified breads and all the pasta that was fortified to try to get those minerals. And so even on my standard diet, I still wasn't getting those micronutrients and vitamins from fruits and vegetables. I was getting it from these fortified foods, these processed stupidities that I didn't know were actually harming my health. Learn from my mistake, wellness warrior. Please, 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 please learn from my mistakes. Before I go on to the next point I want to make, I just want to double check the comments. And I want to say hello to FR Humphrey. Thank you for joining. I love that you're here. Let me just do that. Thank you for letting me know that the sound is good this time, Pat. And I have a super chat, it looks like. And we're back. Thank you for working so hard. Maggie, it is my pleasure to be back here with you guys. I want to talk about this topic today. It's like something that's been running in my head because I'm seeing a lot of people questioning how long can you possibly do carnivore? And so I just wanted to talk about this because I've just started, but I had the same question. How long can you do keto? You're going to hurt yourself. Your cholesterol. And all, I've had these comments and questions and all these things. And so I definitely wanted to jump on and just talk to you guys about what I was seeing. So the next point that I want to make, the long-term health risks that they keep talking about, that they believe are just going to ruin our health. There's no study that talks about the long-term benefits or risks or anything of the standard diet, but yet they're very fast to tell us that we all should be eating standard, right? We should be getting the My Plate if you're in the US, or the food pyramid if you're here in Canada, or like all these silliness that they tell us that we're supposed to eat, and that they encourage that you can have some candy and junk food once in a while because I don't even know why. Like that either government, Canada, US, that I don't know if they do this in Europe, but I know they do it here, that they say it's fine to eat junk food should cause every person on the planet to pause. We should be absolutely angry, scared, all the negatives that a government would tell us to do the thing that's not healthy, right? They don't tell us, oh, it's okay to drink. They say, if you're going to drink, these are the levels that have been found to be toxic versus not toxic. But they don't say, hey, yeah, everybody should somehow, even when you look at the plate, the recommend. My dog is having, okay, I left the door open. I guess that was a mistake. Okay. Um, do I need to go move him? I'm not really sure. He's just coughing. Give me a second. I'm sorry. Today is the day of interruptions. Today is the day where you actually will know that Violet is doing live streams live. This is not pre-recorded. It's a little warm here, so I left the door open so I could have some air circulation. He's usually very quiet. Sorry about that. I lost track of where I was. But the the fact that our government still says that, you know, junk food is okay on occasion, the fact that companies are still allowed to advertise to us to get us to eat the junk that they want us to eat rather than eating healthy food, all of that makes me angry. And it should make you guys angry because this is not towards our good health, right? But there's no evidence that standard diet is healthy or good for us. There's lots of anecdotal evidence, though, that since we started eating a standard American, Canadian, insert your country diet here that has these processed foods in them, those processed foods have been pushing us towards obesity. Those processed foods have been pushing us towards disease. But because we haven't actually gone in the lab and measured these things, well, we can't say that we have evidence for that. It's just anecdotal. Now, equally, we have anecdotal evidence that carnivore and keto diets have been pushing people towards better health. So I'm going to leave it to you guys to decide which set of anecdotal evidence, I would encourage you to look at both, you're going to pay more attention to. And how are you going to allow them to help you to make decisions about what you do next with your food? Now, the studies that were done on red meat and processed meats were interesting because what they tend to do is they will choose things like pizza or hot dogs with the bun or bologna sandwiches and say, this is meat diet. And then they'll turn on and they'll compare it to, a healthy vegetable meal. And then they'll say, well, obviously this is causing damage to the body where this healthy vegetable meal is causing, well, in the short term, less damage. We know in the long term, this also causes damage, but we're not going to see that right away. Whereas this is so obvious because of all the processed stuff in these meat meals. So I feel like that's the other thing that I find really frustrating is that they either do ridiculous kind of um, experiments like that, where they use those kind of foods, or they'll do food surveys where they ask people how much of this and how much of that and how much of this that you've eaten. And I think they do that knowing fully well that people who eat healthy are much more likely to keep track of what they're eating and to like have a schedule of eating that is easier to talk about. Because if you ask me today, Violet, how many chocolate bars did you eat this year? I can actually tell you because it was zero. If you ask me how many chocolate bars I ate last year or the year before, for the last 6 years, zero. If you ask me how much anything, ice cream or whatever, I can actually tell you because the number is zero. Now, if you ask me how much chicken I eat, I can calculate it out because I only eat chicken, pork, fish. Like, so, like because I'm only eating these very specific things on my very boring diet, and I've been doing that even while I was doing keto. So I could tell you that I have chicken 2 to 3 times a week because I do. I have pork 2 to 3 times a week because I do. I have fish probably 2 to 3 times a month because that's how often I have it. Because I know these things, that's just the frequency at which I eat them. If I did a food survey, you're getting pretty good information from me. And I think that's what happens. They do these food surveys, and all the healthy people know what they're eating because they're eating such a strict set of things. First of all, strict. I don't like that word, but right? They know exactly what they're eating. They know how much they're eating. They even know about how often they're eating the things that they're eating. And because of all of that data that healthy people pay attention to for themselves, we're able to then turn around and say, "Oh, this is what I'm doing," and then the results show that we're healthy. When I was eating standard diet, if you would have asked me how many well, maybe chocolate bars I could have told you because I probably was having at least one a day. But go back to like, how much, I don't know, how often was I having a cookie? I couldn't tell you, but it was a lot. Would I have ever admitted that maybe if I was having chocolate every day, would I admit that I was having chocolate every day? Probably not. That doesn't sound healthy. Why would I put that on? So again, are we even honest when we're supposed to be honest? So these research that they're supposed to be doing, they're not giving us the information that we think we're supposed to be getting. And there's problems with that, Wellness Warrior. Michaela Peterson has been 6 years doing carnivore. So she started carnivore just around when I started keto. I started a few months after her. And she pointed out something that was so mind blowing to me that I had not known was even a thing. She found out the reason, well, she believes, I'll say, that the reason that carnivore worked so well for her, especially the way that she did carnivore, she does not eat anything aged. Any meats, nothing can be aged. And the reason it works so well for her is because she believes she's reacting to the histamines in foods that are aged or sit around or fermented. Like all these things have histamine. So apparently, if I understand histamines correctly, when things start to decompose, break down, then our body will start reacting to. So we will either create a histamine in reaction to this thing, or it will have histamines in it. I'm again not a scientist, not a researcher, I don't fully understand it, but what I did understand from her is that it's a lot of aged things, but also a lot of processed foods contain histamines. I didn't know that. Apparently, tomatoes, eggplants, so nightshades also contain or can trigger histamines. Shellfish, chocolate, and of course, peanuts. All of these things can trigger histamines. So again, we are reacting to so many things all at the same time. And we don't even know the layering and layering and layering of toxins on top of histamines, on top of, I don't know, sugar on top. Well, sugar's a toxin too. We are reacting to stuff, Wellness Warrior. And it really does come down to, am I going to let myself see that I'm reacting to stuff? Or am I going to keep going forward as if that's not what's happening and eating these foods, or try to get back to eating these foods that are causing the damage to my body? Cholesterol. Many people on carnivore diets have reported that they were able to slow the plaquing of their arteries. Some of them were even able to stop the plaquing. And even some people reversed that, their plaquing actually got better. So reversed the plaquing of their arteries. Did you know that if you reverse or even slow that plaquing, that will decrease the chance of having a heart problem? So, is the cholesterol that we get when we eat a carnivore diet dangerous? Is the cholesterol what's causing all the plaquing and the problems? Well, no, actually. But that's not even the reason I'm talking about this in this way. The reason I'm talking about this in this way is that what most people don't know is that we actually need cholesterol, and that if we don't eat it, our body just makes it because we need it. It has to be there. All of our hormones made of cholesterol, right? So all the signaling that's happening in our body is based on cholesterol. Cholesterol, yes, is found at the site of plaquing and problems in the body because it's there to help. So let's stop demonizing cholesterol. It's not doing us any favors. The other thing that happens is that our gut health gets called into question. What I want us to understand about gut health is that our gut microbiome is actually determined by the foods that we are eating, not have historically eaten, that we are eating. So when I was on standard diet, I had a gut microbiome based on the foods from that standard diet. And yes, there was fiber in that diet. When I was doing keto, I had the gut microbiome based on my keto diet. And yes, there was fiber in that diet. But fast forward to today, my microbes and my gut microbiome is based on the meat, fish, poultry, eggs, occasional cheese that I eat. That's it. That's all. And guess what? I do have a gut microbiome. As you can see, I'm still sitting here in front of you. I'm fine. My bathrooming is fine. All the things are fine. We only have to eat fiber to feed our fiber microbiome or microbes if we are eating fiber. So eat fiber means I have to keep eating fiber. Stop eating fiber means I don't need to keep eating fiber. My microbiome will change. That's the nice thing about our gut, right? First of all, it's actually outside of us. So we can just, clean it out by eating the right things and letting what's in there pass out, and then replacing it with the good stuff, which is what I've done. And I'm so not afraid. Those ethical considerations, people are worried about us eating the animals. So as you saw earlier, or well, you didn't see, but you heard that I have an animal. I have more than one animal. I have a dog, a chinchilla, and a bearded dragon. I do like animals. But my pets and my food I see as different. The same way that I see my family and my friends as different, right? And I want us to just understand something. I want my animals to be happy and healthy and have a good time. And I want to be healthy and happy myself to be able to have a good time. I need animal protein in order for that to happen. So I'm willing to eat it. Now, we're concerned that if I'm eating an animal, the animal suffered. The only reason the animal suffers, Wellness Warrior, is because we humans have decided to raise our cows and pigs and chickens and fish in conditions that cause them to suffer. Because we could equally argue that my pets would be happier if they were free out in the wild, but that's all assuming that our pets have thought process like we have about freedom. They don't. They want to be comfortable, they want to be well fed, they want to be played with, they want to enjoy their time on the planet. And if we allowed our animals to enjoy their time on the planet before they became food, I would be much more comfortable with that. So I do agree that we need to treat our crops. So no, sorry, our cattle, sorry, and I don't know what you call them. What do you call that when they animals? But our livestock. We need to treat our livestock better so that our livestock has a good life before it becomes food. As I could tell you, Wellness Warrior, that I'm having a good life. And if for some reason I end up on a savanna in Africa and a lion sees me walking along and decides food and munches me, the lion doesn't have any ethical concern. It saw food, it ate food, and it's going to go on with its day. We need to stop believing that animals think like us. They do not. And because they don't think like us, we put these emotional ideas on them that don't belong there. And of course, I think we do that because we grew up watching Disney specials that showed dogs laughing and cats playing and talking with us and all these ideas about animals that don't happen. Sure, they interact with us. Again, they have a good time, but they're not thinking the way that we think. They don't have human feelings. They just don't. They enjoy their interactions with us and they get on with it, that to the level of the cognitive abilities that they have. So now I can tell you that I personally believe if animals had the intelligence and the ability to think like we did, and they ever figured out a way to control things, guess what? We'd be on the menu. I totally believe that. Why? Because we're food to them. At least the ones that eat meat, right? We're food to them. So, is it safe to eat meat forever? Kelly Hogan has been carnivore for 20 years. She's had children while being carnivore because she became carnivore. She was like 25. And she's maintained her weight for 20 plus years or 20 years ish. Kelly Hogan is living her life. So, why did I go carnivore when my weight was stable on keto? I did it because I realized that garbage that I would continue to eat if I was still eating it was actually so the garbage I was still eating, let me just change that. I did it because the garbage I was still eating, and I reframed my definition of garbage. Because I used to just think that garbage was the chips and cookies and ice cream, but as I move forward in this process and understand that all carbohydrate foods have some level of toxins in them, it helped me to start looking at what was happening to me differently. And it kind of put an idea in front of me that I was uncomfortable with, to say the least. Because every single veg that I put in my mouth is doing something in my body. Something. And I don't think that I was letting myself truly understand that every single carbohydrate thing that I was putting in my mouth was doing something in my body. And so, after talking to Dr. Chafee, after talking to Dr. Eid, well, I talked to her before I interviewed her. So that's why that is out of order. After my conversations with Sally Norton, I realized that the toxins in these plants that I'm eating have different speed of impact, right? Some things like hemlock, really fast, right? Gets you immediately. Then you have other things like the toxins in nightshades take a few hours to hit me, but they're still really, really fast. Versus the carbohydrates that over the 23 years to get from 23 to 46, how long did that take to get me? So, because like from 0 to 23, when I had my first knee issues, that's 23 years, right? Of eating this stuff that's supposed to be healthy and not problematic at all. But yet I learn that it's the carbohydrates and maybe other things. So I started off thinking it was just the carbohydrates. I'm now understanding that oxalates are playing a role. I'm now understanding that there's the I can't remember the toxin in nightshades right now, but the toxins in nightshades, the toxins in there's toxins in every single veg, just at what level. All of these toxins played a role in my knees hurting me at 23. And then a few years later, I'm not really sure how long it took, but I was playing badminton at the time. My elbow started hurting. So maybe it was another 3, 4, 5 years. My elbow started. I blame badminton. Oh, it's, tendons and blame badminton. Okay. Then when I was around 30, my back started hurting. Of course, I blame badminton and all my sports and riding the things and whatever, right? Because guess what? That's what we do. And then around 39, I blamed my neck started hurting. And of course, I'm blaming what now? Well, I had a kid and like I'm carrying her around and chasing her around and right. Okay. My hip hit me at 46 and no fall, no nothing, just inflamed, painful, hurting. And when I figured out that the sugar was contributing to this and took the sugar down to 20 grams, I can't even pretend it was 20 at the beginning, took the sugar down to like probably 50, 60, 70, and my hip pain went away, I was on board because I know the repercussions, Wellness Warrior, of years and years of eating garbage, that it took 46 years to get to the point of my hip doesn't work. No, not 5 months. My hip pain was gone somewhere between 5 weeks and 3 months, somewhere in there. I can't remember. At one point, Pat asked me the question, how's your hip? And I had forgotten that I had had a hip problem. And it was somewhere between starting keto and like, it was before 3 months for sure. I just can't remember how far in. I had forgotten. My hip was fine. Like so fine. I'm walking upstairs. I'm running around. I'm doing my thing. I'm not remembering that I had a hip problem that started this entire thing, which also talks about how enthusiastic I was to have found something that was helping my body to heal, that was helping my weight to regulate, and I wasn't at goal weight yet, Wellness Warrior, and my hip was amazing. I wasn't at goal weight. I felt amazing. I hmm, honestly, the fact that I know the repercussions, that it takes years to develop the carbs and the toxins take years to develop these negatives on your body. I wasn't planning to go forward in my life waiting for the next wave of, right? So I keep these small little bits, which I found out from Sally Norton, that in my olives and avocados, the two little bit of veg that I had left, there were oxalates very likely because we pick fruit off the plant before the plant has a chance to detoxify it for the true animal that they want to come along and eat it, right? So we take it off early means we are now eating the thing with the toxins still at high levels. Of course, the plant puts the hot toxins at high levels initially so that the bug or animal that's supposed to eat it will leave it alone till it's ripe. We're human. We're too smart for that. We're going to take it and ripen it away from the plant where the plant can't detoxify. Wellness warrior, do we even understand that this is not unknown information? Do we even understand that Sally can tell this to me because scientists, so botanists, know this information? Okay. I wasn't waiting for the next wave of pain to hit and stop me from enjoying my life. I'm having way, way, way too much fun, right? I just totally enjoy climbing. I absolutely love riding. That's my electric longboard, which is why I'm wearing the helmet. But I love riding longboards. I love climbing. I don't need to eat garbage when I can be out doing my fun activities. And I didn't show you everything I do because I would, well, there'd be like 30 pictures here. But I'd just rather be out riding something. I have too many vehicles in my garage, right? To waste time eating junk and stopping me from being able to do the things that I want to do. So I'm not going to eat plants anytime soon. I really can't see it happening. And if you're ready to have fun with your body instead of food, can I suggest that you watch the videos in the playlist that I've linked in the description of this video? And I'm going to link it on the end of this video as well. It's going to help you to get your carb addiction under control, right? It's going to help you to stick to keto or carnivore, whatever you're trying to stick to. Because if you get it to work, you get to do amazing things like this, right? It's fun. And I can't imagine doing anything else with my free time because I just love feeling good. So I can't imagine eating anything else because then it wouldn't allow me to feel good. I am definitely interested in knowing what you guys thought about today's conversation. So let me just find the comments. So Erin, hi, I'm glad that you were able to join today. I'm just happy to have everybody here who's here. Actually, there's 25 of us in here today. Thank you for joining. I'm so enthusiastic you came back after this morning's craziness with the first live stream going off the rails. But I'm assuming that since nobody is giving me any warnings, that everything is still going well. Hello, Ian. And actually, let me just see what you had to say. I went cold turkey, started with bacon and eggs and a lot of hamburger. I've had a few conversations lately with people, and my focus has been on helping us to think about how we start. And one thing that I'm really happy that I kind of put my mind around is that there are a lot of people who aren't like me, and they're not going to be able to just jump right in. Like you sound like very much like me, like you jumped in and it worked. But however you do it, as long as you get there, and part of the reason that I have the community link also in the description, where people can just go to the community and be around like-minded people and get that support, because I think it's part of why we don't stick to our keto lifestyle. Hello, Ian. Nice to have you here. So, I have fallen off the wagon. Still no grains, but way too many carbs, fruit, veg, sugar, honey, trying to get back on track. So, FR Humphrey, I would encourage you to get back on track. The best thing that you can do, depending on where you are in your process, if you know how to fast, I would do a fast. And then when I come back to eating food, just eat the healthy things and keep myself there. And that's a great reset. Um, if you're not fasting, or fasting is too hard right now, given what you're doing, like the falling off, the other thing that I would really encourage you to do is every time that you feel like having fruit or honey or sugar, have your favorite piece of meat. So some people really like ham, some people really like bacon. Just for the next little while, you're allowing yourself, rather than eating the wrong thing that's so super wrong, you're going to have a little bit of meat. So a bite of, not like a lot of it, but like a bite of ham. I would cook some ham and keep it in the fridge. I cook some bacon, keep it in the fridge. And I just have a bite every time I feel like snacky, and that I might go get something, because eating that is still going to be better than having had the sugar from whichever thing that you would have grabbed. But it's also going to get you out of the habit of eating the wrong thing. It's eating that fruit or eating that sweet tasting thing. Now, once you're back on track, the other thing that I want to point out to you that you want to look at is, of the meals that you're currently making, how many of them still have a sweet flavor to them? Is probably what's getting you off track. Whether it's the meals you're making have a sweet flavor to them, or the how do you call it? The drinks you're drinking. So you might be putting something sweet in your coffee, or you might be drinking diet soda, or all these things. Those things are a trap, wellness warrior, and it's going to help you to be in a bad situation. Pat says, yes, indeed, it is hard to get back on when you fell off. Thanks for sharing that. Rena Black, hello. And yes, I am Canadian. Ian Stewart, the government also recommends a certain safe and effective. Yeah. I Safe and effective confuses me, because if something is dangerous in the long term, so 30, 40 years from now, if you keep eating this thing in high quantities, you will be sick. Why is it safe and effective today? So these are things that I just don't understand. And I'm just not sure why we bother. Like, what's safe and effective is meat, fish, poultry, and eggs. That's safe and effective. And even eggs, some people can't manage, right? Some people react to eggs. So even eggs are on the fence for me in that sense, because I sometimes wonder, when there's certain little things that I'm trying to troubleshoot. Now I'm thinking, oh, could it have been the eggs? So these are things that I'm not going to know until later down the road, when maybe I do a month or 2 or 3 without eggs and see what happens. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to doing whatever I can do to optimize my health. And I'm encouraging you to do the same, because when you optimize your health, life is better. You feel better. You have more fun. Like, it's just amazing. I'm curious to know what part of Canada you are, Rena. It would be cool to know. And Ian is coming to us from Ontario, and I have someone from Alabama. Never been. Oh wait, no, never been there. Someplace to travel to, I guess. It really is hard to know what's impacting us when there's a million things coming at us. And that's why, people call carnivore an elimination diet. Some people get offended by that. I do think it's an accurate way to look at it when you're coming from a standard diet. But when you're coming from a healthy place, like mindset wise, it's not an elimination diet. It's the correct diet we should have been eating from the beginning. And if we look at it from that perspective, then all of a sudden we start to realize that, yeah, if we feed our children this way, and then our children feed our grandchildren this way, and then our grandchildren feed our great grandchildren this way, we can heal a lot of things because we just wouldn't get them in the first place. And how amazing would our world be if we just weren't getting these things in the first place? Hello, Lynn. You're still in Spain, having a hard time getting the beef that I want. Ooh, forging ahead, making good choices. Yeah, I think especially when we're used to eating certain things, like I'm very, very used to eating chicken and pork. So if I were in a place, and I have been in a place where they were focusing, and they're not the cut of chicken that I want, they're focusing on chicken breasts. I like the thighs and the legs because they're more fatty. And the pork, they were focusing, when we were on vacation, they were focusing on the lean cuts of pork, and I usually go for the fatty cuts of pork. So when you're in places where you can't get what you want, then the only other option I had was to lean into eggs. And I just started eating like lots of eggs every morning to get the fat that I needed. And I was adding butter to things to get the fat that I needed. So you make do, but it's not as easy as being able to be home and cook what you want. Beginning on 2x, finally caught up. Oh, okay. Thank you for watching all the beginning. Mentioned before, fired a doctor who insisted on prescribing me statins. Stuck in old inaccurate information. Okay. Fired a doctor. Ever fired a doctor? Have I ever fired a doctor? No, I didn't get a chance to fire my doctor. My doctor retired. I'm not sure if my doctor would have been on board with what I'm doing, but kind of was an old school doctor, so I doubt it. And then like right now I just go in and get my labs done like individually one at a time. So I don't have a doctor at the moment just because of the way that our system is, and I'm on a waiting list. People will still insist that other animals are sentient like humans. Yeah, I know. It doesn't make sense. I mean, it's not to say that other animals aren't smart in their way of being smart, that they understand what they understand. I'm not saying that they don't. But what I'm saying is, in terms of having, first of all, the memories that we have, not certain that that's a thing for all animals. But second of all, that they're interpreting things the way that we interpret things, and having the same kind of emotions about it, absolutely know that that's not reality. Right. And it's just like, and it's normal. That's the thing that's so frustrating, is that it's normal for an animal to understand that the human that's feeding it is safe, and like, so it will treat you in a safe way because you're giving it food. But it's also normal for the animal to turn on that human if you stop feeding it. Right. And because it's going to go into instinct and survival mode. And then if you are food, you become food. So I don't know what would happen if we were, for some crazy reason, in a situation where there was actually no food and it was just me and my dog. What would happen? But do I have full confidence that he wouldn't bite me at some point? No, I don't. I don't, because I think his instincts would kick in. It's okay. That's fine. Um, so I did forget my hip problem. So interesting how you don't ever have to get used to feeling good. You know, I would say that I lived both sides of that coin, because like I got used to feeling bad, so much so that I just kind of mentally in my mind knew the process of doing. So I knew, oh, if I go riding or snowboarding or skiing or whatever I was doing, if I do X, then I'm going to feel Y, right? For X number of days. And I just did it. It wasn't even a question mark. I lived my life. I did my thing, and I went through it. So I would just plan like, oh, I wouldn't go snowboarding on a Sunday. I would go on a Saturday or Friday. So I had the day to recuperate for work the next day, right? So I did these little things to help myself because I just knew that I needed these dates and times and whatevers. And even if I, for some reason, was going to go snowboarding on a Sunday, for whatever reason, if that happened, I just wouldn't do as hard trails to kind of minimize the recovery time I was going to need. Right. Versus if I had a full day to recover, oh man, I'd be doing diamonds and double diamonds if they were not too sketchy looking. And like, I just went all out. And now today, I don't care when I go snowboarding. I'll go any day of the week if I have the time. I'd even go after work and work the next day. No problem if I have the time. But add to that like I don't have any fear of falling off anything. So like you saw at the beginning in the slides there, I can show it again actually. In the slides there, you see where like I don't fear riding a longboard. I mean, I have a helmet on. I don't want to break my brain, but I don't fear riding a longboard because if I fall, which I've fallen off of my skateboard, and I got a cut off that and whatever. I've fallen a few times off my skateboard trying to learn to do tricks and stuff. Um, but I mean, like that was for fun. Like I bought one skateboard to say, could we learn to do something? My daughter learned to do a few little things that she was better at it than I was. I did get it off the ground a little bit. So that's called an ollie. I was able to get it off the ground a little bit, but I wasn't able to do it while I was moving. But I think that was a lot nervousness. But on my longboard, so I have an electric one. I mean, I can get up to speeds. I typically like to stay under like 30. So I could like 30 is my max if I'm passing or going around something. But yeah, like kilometers per hour, not miles. But um like I feel like these situations I wouldn't be comfortable enough to put myself in if I was still walking around with the possibility that falling could take me out for weeks. If I fall, sure, it hurts and but I recover so much easier now and it's just not it's not the nightmare that it used to be. Um yeah. I've been eating so this is disappointed dinosaur. I've been eating melons, high quality meat, like lamb, ground bison, salmon, plus exercising more for the last 6 months. I'm seeing an all-round improvement in my health. Sure. Um, so what I will say is that if that's working for you, and I'm not sure if you're eating enough melon to put you over your 20, that's the only thing I would caution you on. But if that's working for you, like, yeah, you know, everyone's going to start where they start. And I'm not saying that keto is bad either, because that's not at all what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying that when I learned that even those healthy vegetables and the healthy little bit of fruit that I kept on my plate had a potential to cause problems, especially with the way that we harvest them, I had to say no. Now, and I said this to Pat the other day, if I ever was in a tropical island or if ever we had an avocado tree that we owned, and I could wait for the avocado fruit to ripen on the tree before I picked it. According to Sally Norton, that dramatically detoxifies the avocado so that there's not much oxalates in it at that point. Same thing with olives. If I could have an olive, what is it, a bush? Is it a tree or bush? I'm not sure. If I could have my own olives and only pick them when they're ripe, that's a different story. I probably would have them because at that point, I would trust that the plant detoxified it enough for the animal it wanted to eat it. Now, does that still mean that it's healthy for me? I'm probably not the animal that this plant is expecting to eat it. So I still wouldn't do that. Like I wouldn't bring it back as part of my meal plan, but it might become a treat that I have every once in a while, which would make sense because if I had the avocado tree or the olive bush tree plant, I'm not sure what that is, it wouldn't give me avocados and olives year round. I would get them when I get them, and then I wouldn't have them when I wouldn't have them. So in my mind, that actually makes the most sense. And then on top of that, when it would happen that I would have the fresh avocado, you better believe that I would be paying attention to how my body felt for the next 2 or 3 days. So I'd have one, and then I would verify, like, how do I feel? What was the outcome for me from eating that? And if I didn't feel amazing, then that would be the last time that I would have it. It wouldn't be worth it to me. So everybody, we all do what makes sense for us to do, what helps us to feel our healthiest, and to make sure that we're getting the benefits out of the foods that we want to get the benefits out of. So otherwise it doesn't make sense, once we're. So there is a question. What do you think about, so this is Hopscotch Bunny. What do you think about doctors who tout low carb, but say you have to feed your gut? Dr. Lustig said, if you don't feed your gut bacteria will attack the lining of your gut. I don't know that I've ever heard Dr. Lustig say that. I'd be shocked if I heard him say that, because that just doesn't make sense to me. But I will point out that we are always feeding our gut, because our gut microbiome is based on whatever we're actually eating. And for some reason, I feel like I initially started learning that from Dr. Lustig. So that's why I'm a bit curious as to when he would have said that. I probably, that's somebody misquoting him, but if there's a video that you can point me to where he actually said that, I'd be surprised. Now, you know what wouldn't surprise me? With all the people that try to discredit keto carnivore channels, that somebody might have done an AI force Dr. Lustig to say something that doesn't make any sense kind of video wouldn't also surprise me. So, but I'm like totally skeptical, totally, because I actually watched Dr. Lustig and I don't remember ever hearing him say that. As a matter of fact, he's one of the people that helped me to understand that your gut microbiome, I believe it was him, is based on what you're actually eating. So that would be interesting. But no, I personally, I understand, and I've lived it. So it's not even just that I understand, I lived it. When we were carnivore, we did a carnivore challenge for 1 month. Pat went back to eating veg, and I stayed for 2 months. And when I came back to eating veg, my I was all upside down. I was bloating. I had all the things, and it was clearly because I hadn't eaten those those foods for a long time. My microbiome was just not doing well when I reintroduced them. And then, okay, things normalized, went back to normal. So what I was eating was those things, and it went back. And then as time progressed and I started to eat less and less veg, every once in a while, Pat would make, whether it was cabbage or broccoli or cauliflower, whatever it was, he would once in a while make it. And I'd be like, oh, I don't mind having some. And every time I did that, and if I hadn't done it in the previous 2-ish weeks, I was bloated and complaining and not feeling good. And I started to understand that, yeah, if I didn't keep something in rotation every 2 weeks, my gut microbes for it died. And I couldn't manage it. So again, that solidified to me that the reality is whatever you eat is what's creating the gut microbiome that you're going to have. And so if you want to be able to eat that thing, you need to eat it either regularly or not at all. And for me, I decided to choose not at all, because I didn't see the value again. And as I progressed, I saw the danger of keeping these things in my diet. And so that's the decision I made. Everybody's going to make their own decision, right? If you feel like the benefit of the entertainment you get on your plate is worth the toxins that you're risking, the carbs that you're risking, yeah, go for it. I mean, everybody's going to make their own decision. but this is the decision I went with because I like feeling good. I can't help it. Hello, Yvonne R. Passing through and found you interesting. I've been carnivore since 2020, eating meat, eggs, cheese, and fish. I am so much happier with far less aches and pains. Stick with it. Another person who's echoing what I'm talking about. Thanks for the supportive comment, Yvonne, because I do feel like a lot of people just don't believe that this is that they don't believe. And I think Steak and Butter Gal gets a lot of these kind of comments where people kind of question if does she really only eat this stuff? Is she secretly eating? Honestly, when I was still eating veg, I was totally upfront, even though it was avocado and olives on 1 or 2 days a week. So 5 days out of the week, I was not eating any vegetation. And I still labeled myself as keto because if you eat any vegetation, you are keto because it's 20 grams of carbs or less. And even when I was still using spices, I was still like I was like, oh, I'm still keto. I still have my spices in there. The only reason that I'm actually now saying that I'm carnivore is because the only thing I put on my meat is salt. So I've gotten to that point. My flavorings, salt and bacon, because bacon makes a nice flavoring. You can like put that in stuff, on stuff, and it changes the flavor. So that's it, Wellness Warrior. I don't know what else to say. But I thank you very much, Yvonne, for the supportive message. Random. You don't wear makeup because you know you're cute and don't need it, or because of what's it made of, and you say no thanks. Well, thank you for saying I'm cute. I will always accept compliments. Um, I don't wear makeup because, and I've pretty much never worn makeup my entire life because when I was in high school, when you first start wearing makeup, um, the makeup gave me a breakout. Like it just like I was inflamed and whatever. And honestly, like, so first of all, that inflamed reaction that I had on my face was uncomfortable, did not look good, and was in my mind not worth the little bit of blah 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 that I was going to put on my face for. So there was a little bit of time in high school where I wore eyeliner for a little while because that was the only thing that I could do that didn't seem to bother me. But at some point it was like, yeah, why not? Doesn't make sense. So I just didn't bother. So well before starting keto, or obviously because I haven't, the last time I put makeup on my face would have been in high school. So yeah, that's a little something about me that I was. So I guess technically, was my body already reactive to whatever's in plants, and I just didn't make the connection, I guess, because I'm assuming that stuff is plant based, or even it might be the seed oil. I'm sure there's seed oils in those things, chemical stuff. It was the seed oils, I'm going to guess. Because seed oils get me a lot right now, much more so, I think, than even when I was still allowing some veg. I feel like the seed oils really would get me. So interesting. Thanks for the question. Thank you, Pat. So that's the end of the questions for today. Wellness Wear, check out the playlist down below if you want to stick to your keto carnivore lifestyle. And next Monday, 11:20, we're try to do it in one shot next time. So next week. So I hope it's going to be 11:20. We are going to be live. Another topic. If you want to contribute to the topics, you can throw me ideas in the comments below. I'm always open to talking about specific things that people want to know about. So throw me a line, and I will talk to you guys again next Monday, 11:20. Thanks for joining. Bye.